Hi there, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. I wanted to talk a little bit today about emotional eating and the love or hate for food. I saw a couple of comments today and I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that. You see, emotional eating is not really about the food. A lot of people who are overweight, the surroundings, the public, the environment, maybe their friends even, think that people who are overweight, fat, obese, whatever you want to call it, and I may be harsh, but I like to call a spade. I don't like to sugarcoat it. These surroundings think, because they don't know any better, that the person who is overweight, who has a plate full of food, loves to eat and loves food. They don't know, unless they have studied it intensely, that it has little or nothing to do with the food. Maybe the kind of food is considered comfort food, and that's correct, because the person who is eating that plate full of comfort food is soothing herself, himself, trying to fill a gap, because there is a gap, an emotional, mental gap. And in order to understand that gap, that's sort of like an addiction, because an addiction is a gap, that you have to go back all the way to the childhood. What was the childhood like? What took place in the childhood? What was said, not said? What were the rules in the house, etc., etc.? And still then, and there are very few households that are not dysfunctional in one way or another. But the reaction of a child, it's not a response, because the child doesn't have logic. The moment the logic is developed, starts to develop at the age of 7, 8, it's responding, because then the child also learns to think. Before that, it's purely emotional and it's a reaction, just like an animal, the reaction. So what is the reaction of the child on the situation that is taking place, not just once, but probably more and more and often and daily, ongoing for a very long period of time? What is the child emotionally creating within itself? How does the child view the circumstances emotionally? What kind of picture is the child creating of itself? I'm never good enough. I'm always rejected. What I want is not available to me. These are all beliefs that nobody has any idea about. Excuse me, because how one child reacts to a certain situation, take the twin. The twin could react completely different. What is an issue for one child is not at all an issue for another child. We simply have no idea until later on the scenarios start to play themselves out or not. And when they play themselves out in, and this is the subject here for me, overeating, binging, gaining weight, getting fat, unfortunately becoming obese, it is not at all about the food, the amount of food, the kind of food sometimes. It's just that there is something missing. There was something missing in the childhood. And that issue has never been addressed, never explained by the surroundings, by the parents. So if the painful issue that was taking place over and over and over again is still running the show in the background, and you are not aware of it as an adult, now you have your logic, you have no clue where to go. You have no idea why you are stuffing your face over and over, even though your stomach is full. And yes, I understand you can stretch your stomach and you can have the stomach reduction surgery, the stapling or whatever they do. But unfortunately, that is only a temporary solution. Many cases are known of people who, despite the stomach stapling, managed to first, of course, reduce their weight, but then starting to gain it back again and stretch their stomach again. The body is an amazing, I like to call it a machine. That's not the real word for it. It's amazing what the body is capable of. Because if you do not change the mental issues, the mindset, you will go back to those childhood issues. It simply is not going to work. You have to, you can staple the stomach. You can restrict the diet, the food intake. And the more you restrict it, the more terrible it becomes, because that what you cannot have is exactly what you want to have, and you literally will do anything to get it. Anything to get it. So if you are restricted in food, you will do anything. You become so sneaky, so hideaway, so whatever you want to call it, to get what you want to get, to fill that stomach, you think, to fill that gap, that emotional gap, which you cannot fill, is bottomless. There is no end to it until you have worked with a therapist like me and you have gone back to the first time this issue started to develop itself. Because, trust me, you were not born with it. You were not born with it. So it's a learned behavior, a learned experience within yourself. Not about the food, never about the food, the mental issue. So that issue is there. That issue created a belief about the child. The child created that belief. You know, here's the saying, first you create your belief as a child, and then your beliefs create you. Because now you are living according to the beliefs that you created as a child. The beliefs are yours. You created them. You can uncreate them. You can change them, replace them by supportive, powerful, wonderful beliefs about yourself. Do you do that by yourself? Well, I'm so sorry to let you know that the mind is extremely clever and crafty. The mind will never take you to those painful situations. The mind has just one task. That's to keep you alive. Taking you back to painful situations is not contributing to your great life on the planet. Then what you did is you did anything to survive. You complied. You just adapted to survive. Now you are an adult. you can deal with these issues. You absolutely can. You wouldn't be the first one. How do you think people stop smoking? Similar. Absolutely similar. I know of many cases where people stopped smoking, not because they loved smoking so much, but because in their childhood they were introduced to it, usually by parents. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, you just have one cigarette, you know. Come on, just join the group. We're sitting here together. Your mom, your dad, your brother, you're all smoking. Why don't you smoke one as well? And you wanted to be one with the group. You didn't want to be the outcast. Listen what Romeo said in the famous play of Romeo and Juliet. You can look it up. But Romeo decided to do whatever it takes not to be expelled from the city, because in those days you had walls around the city and the doors closed at night, because who knows what was going on outside. You don't want to be left alone outside. So we humans want to be part of a tribe, a group, just like a flock of birds, a school of fish. There is power in the numbers. Being one is just usually all alone and not easy. You have to really stand your ground. So emotional eating, binging, is a pure mental state. It's not a disease. It's not an illness. It's a mental state. Oh, of course, the FDA would love to label it as a disease, because the moment that is approved, the pharmaceuticals can jump on it and create drugs and make the profit. Just you need to understand how that goes. So it's a sort of similar thing that they now try to do with the imposter syndrome. Pretty soon we have the imposter disease. The moment is accepted as a disease, yep, pharmaceutical companies can make legitimately drugs. Okay, so I'm digressing. Emotional eating, binge eating is a mental state. It's a belief that you formed about yourself. It's to fill a gap. And you can only stop that by going back to it, facing it, dissecting it, understanding it, coming to peace with it, change the belief into a powerful, supportive belief, and start living a fantastic life. And really gradually just lose the weight, because you don't have that urge anymore. You're going to be eating less and less and less, because food is not going to fill the gap. You will find other things to do with your life that are far more interesting and far more satisfying than that comfort food. This is it for today. I'll be back again tomorrow. I thank you for tuning in. Remember the disclaimer. This is everything I have learned from my fantastic mentors. Put it in the Vitamix, put my own sauce over it, and that's what I'm serving you. You like it? Fantastic. Thank you so much. Click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you feel you want to pass it on to somebody who may need my contact, who want to hear my contact, please do. And if you don't like it, that's fine with me. I appreciate you. I'll be back again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.